This one is a short and sweet one, hopefully, because I wanted to talk about really the crux of what it can get in our way when it comes to communicating something that we want to communicate with someone else. So whether it's in a workplace situation or in a personal relationship or conversation, sometimes we will have a feeling or an idea of what it is that we want to say or share or talk about, but we can get really caught up in not knowing how we want that to come about or how we want to express ourselves. So really, when you think about it, communication is two things. It's expression of ourselves, so it's expressing ourselves, which is really, really important, but it is also listening to understand others as part of effective communication. So we can also listen to understand ourselves, but sometimes that takes time. And when we have something within us that we want to share with someone, in any context, or that we just want to talk about, but we're not quite sure what about it is that we want to talk about. If you've ever been in that situation where you have this feeling of, I kind of want to dive deeper into this feeling, this thing that's going on here, but I'm not quite sure what that is until I start to actually dive deeper into it. This is the point of this video, is it is okay to say that as part of your communication. It is okay to say to the other person in whichever scenario, again, as long as you feel safe, as long as it's that kind of space for you to, but generally it is okay for you to say, I'm not quite sure what it is about this, but I'd really like to have a conversation around this thing, this topic, this idea with you. And that's it. And what happens then is it invites the other person into the conversation anyway, and maybe what they have to say initially helps you to find your way of expressing what it is that you need to express, or saying what it is that you need to say, or learning what it is that you need to learn. Remember, we're listening to understand as well as part of our communication. So if it involves someone else, in whichever capacity it might be, it is okay if you're not quite sure how to start it, or there's a million different things and you're not quite sure where to start. It is okay to say to that person, hey, I have a lot on my mind, for example, around this particular issue. Can we talk about it? I'm not quite sure where to start, but I feel like it's really important to me to create a space where we can kind of, hash it out, work it out, whatever it is. That may feel frustrating for the other person. It may, and that's the reality. However, more likely, it actually just allows a better understanding of what the situation is. Whether it is a negative situation, whether it's something about you expressing yourself in a positive way, it doesn't matter. It helps you gain an understanding if it involves someone else by inviting them into the conversation. So if you feel stuck in your communication because you're not quite sure what to do next, or what to say next, or how to say it, or how to broach it, start there. Broach it by saying, hey, I want to talk about something here. I just feel like I have a lot of thoughts about it, but I just need to talk it through with you because it involves you, and that will help bring clarity. And you can invite them into it. You can say that as part of your communication process. We don't need to show up with another person perfectly communicating. And that is something I can relate to with perfectionist tendencies. So if you are someone who is also the same, where you want to get everything right before you say it, know that part of the process, part of the connection, or part of the breaking down the barriers, if there is a barrier, whatever it is, part of that process can be really powerfully worked on by approaching it this way, instead of trying to figure it all out yourself, because you never know, the other person might be trying to figure it all out themselves as well, and why have two people trying to figure it out themselves when it could be done in a teamwork environment, and when it can be done in collaboration with each other helping each other through it, because you might be missing key pieces of information from the other party that would actually help you have an understanding of what you want to say next, or what your position is, or your stance is, or what understanding you need beyond that. So again, the crux of this is give yourself permission and know that it is okay in your communication with another person to let them in on your process while you're still trying to figure it out. At the very least, it's letting them know where you're at. If they're waiting for an answer for something, it is so valuable for them to know that you're trying to figure it out. Maybe it opens up the conversation, but at the very least, it communicates to them where you're at with it, so they know. So it's a really, really powerful thing to remember. We don't have to figure everything out on our own, especially when it feels big or vulnerable, or something like you feel like you should figure out on your own. There is still the ability to express that and say, hey, this is what I'm sitting with around this. Do you have any insight? Do you have any feelings or thoughts about this particular thing? And that can actually get the ball rolling. Otherwise, you just stay stuck, circling that same rock, looking for a chink to get your way in, when really it could just do with a little bit of a push, just by saying that. Just that. That is all.